Hello, good evening. Welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live on news up here at Desawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Coming up this evening, Parliament's Committee on Defense and Interior recommends soldiers who engage in excessive brutalities against Ashaman residents be identified and dealt with in accordance with the Ghana Armed Forces laws, and also made recommendation for some compensation to be paid persons who are the receiving end of these brutalities. Stay with us here on Hot Edition. We have details for you as we get into a conversation on the details as well as we go on here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Plus, new Petoti Party members of Parliament face challenging contest in primaries in 102 constituencies. We'll give you details of that shortly here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also, concerns about the state of the Tamale refinery emerges following the commissioning of a privately owned Central Oil refinery in Tema. Well, stay tuned. We'll tell you what the President Akufo-Addo said about government plans to revive tour at this same venue. Details of these and more here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Remember, we're streaming live on Facebook and X at 3FM 927. Join us with your thoughts. I am Alfred Ocansey. Welcome. The Parliamentary Committee on Defense and Interior has recommended that the military personnel responsible for brutalities meted out to some residents of Ashaiman on May 7, 2023 be sanctioned. The committee, in its report, indicated that the actions of the military contravene Section 32 of the Ghana Armed Forces Act 1962, Act 105, and those who engage in excesses during the operation should be identified and dealt with. The committee also recommended compensation for the victims. My colleague Dennis Poberi Wadam is joining me in the studio for a quick conversation on this matter and the details of it. Dennis, good to have you as always. Now, run us through some of the key findings of this committee.
Well, so top of the list will be the recommendation that compensation be paid to all those who were affected by these brutalities, including properties that were destroyed. So that is a key recommendation that's been made by the committee. They also recommend that for soldiers who were involved in this particular act, which they say was in excess of what they were instructed to do, they should be prosecuted in accordance with the Ghana Armed Forces Act. And this particular provision that has been stated to be the basis for the prosecution states, and I quote, that's Section 32 of the Armed Forces Act 1962, Act 105. It says that every person in the armed forces who behaves in a cruel or disgraceful manner shall be guilty of an offense and on conviction liable to imprisonment for a term not exceeding 5 years or to any less punishment provided by this act. So in essence, the committee is saying that let the people who have been engaged in this act face the full rigors of the law and be treated with this particular provision, as their actions have been found to be in contravention of this provision. The committee also recommends that the National Security Council ensures that there is collaboration and coordination among the securities. That's because they've made a finding that there was not enough collaboration between the Ghana Armed Forces and the Ghana Police Service, because they were of the view that when it comes to internal security, it had to be within the purview of the Ghana Police Service. So whatever intelligence that the Ghana Armed Forces gathered, for which reason they instructed that operation to be carried on, it had to have been routed through the Ghana Police Service. So they make a recommendation that there be a collaboration and then coordination between the various state agencies when it comes to dealing with matters of this nature. They also make the recommendation that the armed forces work towards improving their relationship with the public, and that, in their view, would engender trust and confidence. They make this on the basis that they also observe that the relationship between the Ghana Armed Forces and the civilians or the public is deteriorating, and they believe that if they're able to work on that relationship, it will go a long way to engender confidence in the security architecture and the fight against crime and all of that. Beyond the recommendations, Alfred, let me also mention that the committee has made some specific findings by way of the work that they did. So maybe some of the things that were in dispute, now the committee would bring finality or set the record straight on this. So the committee finds that, for instance, that on the said date, that is the 7th of March, 2023, it was a Tuesday, that there was a military operation that took place in Ashima, Tulaku, and Ashama Taifa. And that indeed the operation was sanctioned by the military high command. Again, they also found that the operation was based on intelligence gathered by the military. They go on to say that some residents of the affected communities, they were subjected to acts of torture, and then they sustained various degrees of injuries. They attached the list of people who were affected by that operation. They go on to say that there were about 247 people who suffered varying degrees of injuries, causing them somatic, that's body pain, and with others being traumatized. They also found that one Dr. Al-Hassan offered medical treatment for 50 of the affected persons, and that there were also damages to some personal properties of residents during the military operation. The observations that they made, based on which they made the recommendations, are that there were some institutional failures on the part of the security agencies that I explained earlier, that there needed to be a proper collaboration between the Ghana Armed Forces and the Ghana Police Service. Since the Ghana Police Service is in charge of internal security, whatever intelligence the Ghana Armed Forces had gathered on which basis they sanctioned that operation should have been routed through the Ghana Police Service, and that moving forward, they needed to work hand in hand. They also talk about the relationship between the military and civilians deteriorating, for which reason they need to work on it. They talk about the need to sanitize the general public, and also the timing of the operation. In the view of the committee, the timing was not appropriate because this was coming on the back of a soldier who was killed. So the committee is of the view that even if they were in there to gather intelligence, coming on the back of a soldier who had died under such circumstances, it would have been construed by the public to mean that their being there was an act of vengeance and not necessarily to deal with
the crime or that situation there. It's important that you also put out this point, and Dr. Adam Bona has been listening to you as we run through the details of this details as well. We also have the Honourable Member of Parliament for the Ashama constituency, Ernest Norbert Dogbe, joining us on the telephone right now. Ernest Dogbe, I thank you so much, Honourable Ernest Dogbe, for your time here on Hot Edition.
Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners.
Now, first off, you've heard the recommendations of the committee and investigating what happened in your constituency sometime in May last year, and the recommendations that they have made as well, together with the findings. Now, what do you make of this, and being a member of Parliament as well and following this quite closely?
Well, thank you very much. Yes, as a member of Parliament and also a member of the Defense and Interior Committee who put up this report, by and large, I can say that we are satisfied, and I am satisfied as a representative of the people of Parliament about the recommendations. And I can also say that the committee has done a yeoman's job, because we were able to engage all the participants in this act, or let me say the actors of this game, the victims, the police, the military, and also the family of the deceased soldier. So we had the views of each and everyone and the understanding of the crime. We also went to the scene and we came out with this recommendation. So I can only say that yes, the recommendations are good for the people of Ashama. We are happy about it, but we are yet to see the report being taken on the floor of the House for Parliament to adopt it and its implementation. And so for now, that's the only thing I can say. But I must be frank with you that probably most of the things that were said in the report and what your reporter just narrated, they are legitimate things that we came out with, because we have also realized as a committee that there has not been any collaboration between the police and then the military, because we are of the view that when the military seek an intelligence, they have to listen to the police to act on, because we admit and expect that the police, as the internal security agency, will have to take a precaution, or we take a custody of whatever information that is given to them. But in this case, when you look at the report critically, over 200 people were taken to the military barracks, and none of these 200 people were found culpable of the act. They had to take the police to come with the IGP himself in the night to come and then arrested the perpetrators of the crime. That is the situation at hand. So the collaboration is a key to us, because it did not only happen in Ashaiman, it happened at Wa, it happened at Ejura, it happened at other places. And so we need those collaborations to going forward, because it's very much important. That is the only way we can live in a peaceful manner. But by and large, the people of Ashaiman, after the report is taken on the floor of the House, we will demand the compensation as a former people. And I will do that. I will champion that. If we fail to do so, probably we have all other options to explore.
It is the compensation bit that I was coming to as well, because that is also part of the recommendations that your committee, that you're a member of the Defense and Interior Committee, made in this regard. So in what form is the compensation going to come? Was there any determination of that during the committee's recommendations?
No, there wasn't any determination to that effect, because we have realized at sitting that people had bodily injuries, there were loss of life, people had property loss, etc. People have already psychological trauma, etc. So we were expecting, or of the view that at the end of the day, a committee, an ad hoc committee may be formed to look into the quantum of compensation that should be given to the various degrees of people or categories of people. And so for now, we did not determine any form of compensation that should be given to any category of persons, but we are expecting that at the end of the day, a committee will be formed to look into it critically and see the quantum of compensation that should be given to people who went under this psychological trauma, who had bodily injuries, loss of life, and loss of properties. They will determine that.
I see. Now, and that's where the issue is. And if they determine it and it's to the disadvantage of the persons who were brutalized, then what next?
Well, you know very well that there's no compensation that can be equated to loss of life. There's no compensation that could be equated to loss of properties under this regime or psychological trauma. But significantly, it is very important that there should be adequate compensation to that effect, in as much as it will come in the form, any form that it may come, the quantum of whatever it is. We are looking at adequate, the underlying word is adequate compensation. Looking at the economic conditions, we are okay by it. If that is not done to our satisfaction, then we can go to the Human Rights Court to seek for redress.
I see, but the families of these persons who were brutalized, and then also what we witnessed there, how are they living almost a year after this incident?
Yes, I think for some time now, there has been so much pressure on me to push the agenda, because they were very much aware that the Speaker has constituted a committee to look into this matter, and investigations were going on. And so somewhere about a month or two ago, I raised this matter on the floor, drawing the attention of the Speaker to that effect, that the committee has finished its work, the report has been made, it consistently appears on the order paper and even the business statement. But for whatever reasons, I cannot tell, we refuse to debate the matter on the floor for it to come to its finality. And so for now, the people of Ashaiman, the victims, the families, they were up in arms, and until today that you are calling me to address this issue, I'm sure they were seriously not happy about how far we had went. But for now, I'm sure that things will calm down, and then when we resume speaking, Speaker will direct that the report should be taken.
And thank you for joining us here on Hot Edition. Appreciate it. Also, but if you could stay on a bit for me, because we have Dr. Adam Bona, who's been listening to you all the while as well, is following this quite closely, a security analyst. Dr. Bona, you heard a member of parliament for the area talk about, well, he is also a member of the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament, for that matter, that the recommendations they have made are far-reaching. Yes, he is satisfied as member of parliament, but the issues of compensation, they did not go into the determination of the compensation, which is also going to be another conversation going forward as well. You have seen the committee's recommendations. Does it fulfill your expectations, especially taking into consideration the fact that this is not the last of what we've seen of the military brutalities?
Well, yes, Alfred, good evening, and good evening to your listeners and the honorable member from the Ashaman. I must say that, yes, the committee have done a thorough job, except to say that there are, some areas I thought they could have done better. They could have done better in some areas. For instance, if you take in, I think we had an earlier on conversation on this, and I mentioned that, if you take Ayawaso West Wagon, brutality and the fact that that was even, a commission of inquiry. Those who suffered the brutality in Ayawaso West Wagon, as we speak, have not been compensated. The back and forth, some of them have lost their jobs, some of them have become, disabled through this confrontation or what ensued in Ayawaso. So I wanted to see, for instance, that they would state categorically that, once the House approves this, one of their recommendation is that within a month, compensation processes, or within 3 months, give some timelines to work with and say compensation should have been paid to the sufferers, because it is very important if you know how lackadaisical the executive can be when it comes to some of these things, even though I must be quick to say that in the Ejura incident, compensation were paid. And you also know that there was a lot of back and forth to do with the Aswanti 7, where 7 able men were killed and paraded as if though they were criminals. Eventually, that went to compensation. But mine is that the executive sometimes is lackadaisical, that lukewarm attitude when it comes to citizens suffering in this manner. And so I wanted to see that. The other thing, reading the report, that came to my attention, which I thought they could have also been a bit more categorical, had to do with they said, and the recommendation was that the military should educate their personnel with human rights, the rights of people. And I said, if you say education, that is good, but it is not very specific, because I wanted to see, or not too clear to me, I wanted to see, for instance, where they will call for a review of the training manual of the Ghana Armed Forces, where if there is some aspect of constitutionalism, what do you call that, issues to do with human rights, issues to do with rule of law, they would have stated it. And I think the Interior Minister was captured to have mentioned, to repeat what the Constitution says, or our law says, that the police is in charge of internal security. And so the military, our laws, if you take the Act 29, the military doesn't have power of arrest. The police has got power of arrest. And so all other agencies who have power of arrest derive that authority from the police's power of arrest, according to our laws. So the military, anytime they are effecting an arrest without the police, they are effecting that arrest as private citizens.
Right.
The military has no prosecutorial powers. The military, when it comes to internal security, does not have what it takes to take people to court and prosecute them. So it means that they cannot actually go and gather evidence and in this manner and give it to the police for what the police to do what.
Okay.
And so you understand where the IGP stated that, well, they were informed, but they were not part of what took place. It means that the military acted unilaterally. They did not involve the police. If they had involved them, then you will say that you are going there based on intelligence. You want to arrest perpetrators. You would arrest them with the evidence. The police is there. They have the power of arrest. They have the power to prosecute. Then they will go ahead with the people they've arrested with the evidence, prosecute them. So I wanted to see something like that to repeat the fact that the military does not have power of arrest.
Indeed.
The military have no power to descend on the people and beat them.
So
mine is that these are things that some of us, I would wish that when the debate ensues, when it happens, members of parliament would want to, make this, articulate this in the, maybe if they can talk about it. Because these are things that should go to Garu and other places. As for me, this worries me, if you ask me.
Okay, now, so it's on the basis of this that I asked question whether these recommendations are far-reaching enough to, as it were, deter the military from engaging in these brutalities of civilians, because there's been instances of this nature even before Ashaman happened, where in places in the northern region, this was in the Upper East region specifically, where this war, where one of them lost their mobile phone.
It happened in Dumpiase.
And then somewhere in Takrady as well, in the western region as well, we recorded such cases. Are these recommendations far-reaching to deter this unfortunate occurrence of the military also taking on the civilians?
Not that I am. The recommendation not too far-reaching, if you ask me, because then the role of the military in our democracy, I wanted to see that defined by this important committee. They've done a good job. Let me not take that away. They've done a very good job. But the role of the military, given that opportunity again, must be defined. It must be very clear that the role of the military is for territorial integrity protection and nothing to do with internal security. The military has no power of arrest. The military cannot conduct swoops in civilian populated areas where there is no emergency declared, like curfews. The military can't do some of these things in Ashaman. There's no conflict in Ashaman. The people are law-abiding. Yes, some people, if you come to East Legon, there are criminals in East Legon. Go to Cantonment, there are criminals in Cantonment. So we cannot treat the people of Ashaman as if though they are second-class citizens. And some of us feel that, or you go to Garu and they are treated like they are second-class citizens. Mine is that some of these military officers, or every day some military officers retire. You retire, you go back to live in Ashaman. And uniform people, the uniform you used to wear, you come there, beat you up because you are not a civilian, and beat your children up. So we need to begin to guard our democracy.
Right.
Today you are in uniform. Tomorrow you are not in uniform. And that is why some of us say, when it comes to brutality and beating of citizens, those who perpetrate it, they are the same people when they find themselves in a corner where probably the state is going after them because probably they are no longer wearing uniform, or they've been interdicted. Then they think that somebody should help them in terms of pleading for clemency. And so, as far as I'm concerned, these are things that we need to look at.
Indeed. Dr. Bonner, appreciate your time on this. Thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition. And because of Dr. Bonner's input, his analysis of your report, your committee's report, that bit about you not being very certain and also clear on the military's role is where he says is much of a concern because of what we've seen even before Ashaman happened. The military also brutalizing citizens, and then we are not really seeing any punishment to deter the military personnel from doing so. Is that one that you take into consideration?
Well, yes, I think I totally agree with Mr. Bonner based on his analysis. But don't let us also forget that the committee was investigating specific matter. Parliament will work with rules and regulations, and also by our standing orders, whatever is directed of you to do, you must do same. You shouldn't go beyond what the speaker asked you to do. We were investigating matters concerning Ashiama, not the general operations of the military on civilians.
Okay.
You understand? Probably that may be the reason why some of these things were not brought up. But we discussed it at the committee level about their activities off record. But when the reports were put together, we looked at our modus operandi, our instruction from speaker, and based on that, we came out with the recommendations. But by and large, I should agree with him that we need to incorporate some of these recommendations into our future reports so that it will serve as a deterrent to the military for acting in any ultra-virus manner.
Rightly so. I thank you so much for time. Appreciate you. And as Nogba is Member of Parliament for the Ashaman constituency joining us here. And my colleague Dennis Poberi. Now, was there any specific punishment recommended, or they left that to the determination of the Ghana Armed Forces in this report?
Well, so they just mentioned that the soldiers involved in the act should be dealt in accordance with the Armed Forces Act. So they did not mention specifically what should be done to them. So it means that when they are found guilty, they will just go by that section 32. But it's also important to mention that the residents in the area or the affected people had a lawyer who was speaking for them. He made categorical demands, one including compensation, and then the other one had to do with the dismissal of those who sanctioned the operation.
Right.
What you find in the report is that the recommendation is for those who were engaged in the act rather than those who sanctioned the operation. So they were looking at the operation from the top, but it does appear that those who were in the ground are now going to bear the brunt for whatever action that has occasioned. Oh. But they've been categorical in saying that the operation was excessive, and in their own words, they said it is unacceptable, it is intolerable, and the atrocities unleashed by military violated the fundamental rights of the affected persons.
Appreciate your time on this. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's Dennis Poberi with them there. And we're also picking information that about 7 passengers are in critical condition following a robbery attack around Jamase near Mampong in the Ashanti region. The incident reportedly occurred at about 2:45 a.m. earlier today. The gun-wielding men robbed passengers on board several vehicles, including a VIP bus with registration number AC741915 traveling from Accra to Yeji, and also bolted with an ambulance. Now, the incident unfolded when the robbers set up a roadblock. The driver of the VIP bus shared the experience, indicating that he was ascending a hill when the robbers flashed a torchlight, signaling him to stop and slow down because he thought it was a police checkpoint. And fortunately for them, there was a police escort on board the VIP bus who engaged in a shootout with the robbers, injuring one of the robbers. Some passengers also, we understand, sustained injuries as the robbers fired through the windscreen of some of the buses, and are also on admission at the Mampong Government Hospital. So this is some information that we're monitoring quite closely. We'll be updating you as we go on here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also live on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Now, Centure Oil Refinery Limited in the Tema Industrial Enclave has also been commissioned today. That a Centure Oil Refinery, initially processing 40,000 barrels of oil daily, aims to gradually increase its capacity to 100,000 barrels of oil daily. Now, the plant will employ about 900 people directly. This comes at a time the state-owned Tema Refinery is struggling to revive its operations. President Akufo-Addo, who was at the inauguration of this Centure Oil Refinery, indicated that the partnership between the state and the private sector was a reflection of what happened today at Centure Oil's inauguration.
Ladies and gentlemen, the operationalization of this refinery is a pivotal step towards securing our collective energy future, and is a good demonstration of the cooperation between the public and private sectors that has enabled this investment to materialize. No longer will we be solely reliant on external sources for fuel. Instead, we will harness our natural resources to fuel our progress. This refinery will not only provide a stable supply of petroleum products, but will also create jobs, empower local communities, and drive investment in related industries, contributing to the realization of our vision of industrialization. By processing our crude oil domestically, we are creating opportunities to add value, transform raw materials into finished products, and increase the competitiveness of our manufacturing sector. This refinery stands as a good example of our Ghana Made in Ghana initiative, where we prioritize local production for the benefit of Ghanaians.
That's President Akufo-Addo there. And this development today comes at a time when the Tema refinery is struggling. Now, the likes of Duncan Amoah, the Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC, makes the strong point that, quote, Ghanaian officialdom driving in their best clothing went to this, the inauguration of Century Oil, but what has happened to the Tema refinery, the plans to revive the refinery after this private refinery has been inaugurated. Petroleum refining globally has proven to be not only profitable, but also one of the surest ways of ensuring petroleum security. However, in Ghana, the narrative is the inverse. The General Transport, Petroleum and Chemical Workers Union of TUC and the workers of the Tema refinery over the past months have mounted a spirited effort to get officialdom to pay attention to the sad reality of the only refinery owned by the state by fixing it to give the country the needed petroleum security as well as protecting jobs at the refinery, as it has done for Ghana since its inception in the 1960s, but all to no avail. The state, since taking over the refinery from the Italian counterparts who built it, has simply proven it cannot be entrusted to manage anything economically to the benefit of its people. And the sad bit is that officialdom is excited to go commissioning another refinery right across the road, thereby sending the signal to the Tema refinery it has no business any longer effective today, as the private refinery with a much higher refining capacity comes into operation. Now, this is a statement issued by Duncan Amoah, Executive Secretary of the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers. We're working on telephone lines to get through to him shortly on this matter, and why he makes the strong point that with this Central Oil owned by the Chinese, that has been inaugurated today by the president, is the final nail in the coffin of the Tema refinery. And just to put it on record as well, that the Central Oil is located within the same enclave of the Tema refinery, the Tema industrial area, not too far away from each other. So that also, according to Duncan Amoah, also raises other concerns that he wants officialdom to look into. We'll get into that shortly here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. But the Senior Staff Association of Ghana, they've defied orders of the National Labour Commission to call off its strike. According to the association, government has failed to release funds to pay the second tier and overtime allowance. Meanwhile, the National Labour Commission says the ongoing strike by the association is needless. On Wednesday, January 24, the National Labour Commission directed striking members of the Senior Staff Association of Ghana to call off a strike. And the leadership of the association said it has had to consult its constituents before calling off the strike. However, the Executive Secretary of the National Labour Commission, Ofosu Asamoah, has indicated that the aggrieved members of the association are not on strike, and government has agreed to release funds for the unions.
It is not true that they have refused to do that. They are working. Just coming from the University of Ghana, where we held our graduation. And the senior staff, the junior staff, everybody is working. Today, 1,500 people have graduated from the university today. 2 graduation sessions were held in the morning at the City Hall, and there was one going on at the Great Hall. As I talked to you this morning, today there's been graduation going on, and one has gone on in the morning at the University of Cape Coast. And certainly, who are they working? They are working. They have obeyed the directive.
You are very confident about that one? They are still on strike.
I don't know where you have your checks from, because I am just coming from the university. I just graduated with LLM from University of Ghana, and I graduated from Cape Coast with MA in PDS, Peace and Development Studies. Between yesterday and today, they are working. So why should I say that because I've left, they will stop working? Do you want to say they started working because I was coming? They are working. They talked about their tier 2, exactly, which has been paid. The problem is with
the 8 months arrears have been paid.
Yes, yes, it's been paid. What is left now is the interest, right? The law says it should be 3% per each month, which is not paid. Sure. And then government is saying that there was a negotiation between them and the labor unions, for which a portion of the percentage was to be forgone. And that is where the disagreement is. And they have agreed to meet on the 1st of February and report to the commission on the 8th, the results of their negotiation. That is what is left, right? In terms of the allowances have been paid, except for 2 universities, University of Mines, Atakwa, and UCC, and that the GTEC has issued a directive to them to comply with the negotiated settlement. So at the moment, the staff in the public university have nothing to complain about when it comes to the allowances for which they were agitated. So they're like, what would they stand on for the strike?
So all the issues have been resolved then?
Not all has been resolved. There are some which have not been resolved. But currently they are negotiating. They have given themselves on the 1st of February to meet within 1 week, a report to the commission on the 8th. And by law, you are not allowed to strike, wear red armbands, or do anything during the period of negotiation. So the strike has come to an end.
Well, so it says the strike has come to an end. And that is according to the National Labour Commission the Secretary of Oswasama, but the General Secretary of the Senior Staff Association of the universities, James Bweni Yakubu, has rejected those claims, saying they will not call off the strike until the amount they're expecting is paid.
We are on strike. If you check, actually, graduations, management can decide to involve some outsiders to help in graduation. If you look at graduations over the years, you come to campus, you don't see this kind of chaotic situations. You can see traffic everywhere. The security is not on hand. Yes, few around, but they are not working to full capacity. Yes, we actually ask every security man to stay at home. But, sometimes you cannot go and lock somebody in the house, not to go out. So if you are there to help, fine. But if you check, majority of these things, national service, we have national services on campus. And we only withdraw our members from the offices.
So that's the Senior Staff Association of the universities in Ghana talking there. Well, here on your election command center, in less than 24 hours, delegates of the governing New Patriotic Party will be going to the polls to elect parliamentary candidates in some 102 constituencies. These are constituencies held by the NPP in this 8th parliament. The polls will be the final piece of the party's reorganization process ahead of the crucial election 2024. The NPP's sole ambition to break the 8. Already, some 3 constituencies have been put on hold over various issues as the party prepares feverishly to organize a smooth election. Let's get a bit more into this. Deputy General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, Haruna Mohammed, is joining me on the telephone. Haruna, thank you so much for joining us here on Hot Edition.
Thank you, Ocansey.
Great. First of all, let's establish this. We've had information that the Binduri constituency, Ekwapim South, and then also we're learning about a 3rd constituency that has been put on hold. That's Mampong, because of either a court case or the parties taking a decision as a result of a petition not to have the elections, correct?
Thank you very much, Ocansey. With regards to Binduri is it's a constituency that has an unopposed. So that is not so material to where we have contest. And when you look at Mampong, I've also heard, but I haven't seen any court document that is served on the party, and I am unable to compare whether there is such. I can confirm for that of Aguna West, and then also confirm the party putting on hold for that of Ocansey, having received notice and request from the constituency for the National Party to put this constituency on hold for further consultations to be made on that, and a decision will be made after this election.
For Aguna West, why exactly is the election not taking place tomorrow?
It's a court matter which was supposed to have been heard yesterday, and we have not brought conclusion to that matter, and that is why it is on hold.
A court matter challenging what? What exactly?
I haven't had the opportunity to look at the read, but I understand what one of the contenders who was disqualified in the race has decided to go to court. And as a law-abiding party, we heed to the court process and make sure that we follow through.
I see. But also, beyond that, what measures have you put in place to ensure that after tomorrow, if any of these city members of parliament lose their seats, the party will still be together?
We have made several arrangements for this. The National Executive Committee, at its last sitting on the 17th, they directed that every region constitute a reconciliatory committee. And the composition of this committee was described, and all regional chairmen took notice of this particular direction. And we so believe that this is going to contribute greatly to making sure that we bring everybody on board after the election. So the party has taken adequate measures, and I think that it's going to work for the New Pacific Party.
But how about preparations ahead of tomorrow? All is set based on the information you have from the Electoral Commission?
Yes, tomorrow is the date set for the New Pacific Party to run our parliamentary primaries for where we have sitting members of parliament. As we stand today, we have 102 constituencies that will be running elections where contests are made. We have 33 polling constituencies where we are doing unopposed, and acclamations are being done across the country. Started last weekend, and then it has been continued, and some will conclude that tomorrow. And where we have the contest, ballot papers have been sent. The Electoral Commission is in charge of all electoral process in all the centers that we are going to conduct the elections. Ballot papers have been sent. Registers have also been sent. Members of the Electoral Commission who are going to assist in the discharge of their duties for this election have been adequately briefed. We had our security arrangement already. The Ghana Police Service will take charge of the security arrangement to ensure all the protocols as issued by the General Secretary of our party is followed through to the latter. And I believe that everything is set and all the centers are ready to be able to receive delegates for tomorrow's election. This election is not going to be the usual gathering where speeches are being delivered. It's going to be an election that will take the form of what we did in the presidential and the open conference. It's going to be a walk-in. You walk in, you check your name, you go through, and you cast your votes. And that's exactly what is going to happen tomorrow. Everything is set, nothing left unattended to.
Aruna, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Ocansey.
Haruna Mohammed is the Deputy General Secretary of the New Patriotic Party, talking to us there on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Remember, here on your Election Command Center, we will be on the ground and give you details every step of the way, what is happening and the updates as well going forward. And so stay with us here on 3FM 92.7, also across all the Media Journal platforms. But before we get into business here on Hot Edition, a court order has been granted to the Agricultural Development Bank, that's ADB, and 5 other banks, namely Cal Bank, Bank of Africa, GCB, Universal Metro Bank, and United Bank of Africa, UBA, to prevent the sale of or transfer of assets belonging to PBC Limited. This includes the company's headquarters located at number 106 Olusegun Obasanjo Way, Jowolu Junction here in Accra. The court's decision comes in the wake of a judgment secured by the 6 banks against PBC Limited. Despite a favorable judgment delivered in October 2023, PBC Limited allegedly failed to meet the debt and its obligations to the bank. So we'll give you details of it. There's more of this in the business news with Juliana Menuafo right after this quick break here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Stay with us.
Are you stressed from a hard day's work? Looking to de-stress and relax over soothing music and soft chats? Then join Mia Kofa on Wind Down. 3FM.
Keeping it cool, easy, nice and breezy like that. Okay, starting with Kenny Rogers. Write your name across my heart.
Write your name across my heart.
Every Monday to Wednesdays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. and on Thursdays at 8 to 9 p.m. as I play your favorite songs on your favorite dial, 3FM 92.7. Wind Down with Mia Kofa, your smooth operator on your
Hello, good evening. It's time for the business segment on Hot Edition. Tonight, in a significant development, a Ghanaian court has ordered for the freeze of assets belonging to PBC Limited, a licensed cocoa buying company, due to over 300 million cedis of debts owed to 5 local banks. This legal action comes as a response to the company's failure to meet its financial obligations, raising concerns in both financial and business circles. The following 3 Business Desk report has more on the court order and its implications. So the court order mandates the freeze of PBC's assets as a measure to secure the interest of Ghanaian banks to which the company owes substantial debts. The produce buying company, PBC, has accumulated significant amounts of debt with local banks, prompting legal action to protect the creditors and their financial interests. The asset freeze is expected to have immediate implications for PBC's day-to-day operations as the firm navigates the legal and financial repercussions of the court order. The company is now under pressure to present a comprehensive plan for debt resolution, outlining how it intends to settle outstanding financial obligations and regain the trust of creditors. The court order has triggered reactions from stakeholders, including investors and industry analysts who are closely monitoring the situation. PBC is expected to release an official statement addressing the court order and outline its strategy for debt repayment. The development has implications for the business community in Ghana, raising questions about financial stability and corporate governance within the country. Menu Afol, 3 Business, Accra. Now that was a report on the court order to freeze some assets of PBC Limited over some 300 million cedi debt. Now, PBC is a private company with the government serving as a majority shareholder. The company originally exists as a licensed buying company focused on the trade of cocoa, shea nuts and other cash crops, and was economically viable at the time. So what becomes of the once promising firm? Here's a 3 Business Desk report.
Now, PBC's major challenge has been the lack of working capital and has relied on short-term borrowings, including borrowings from Cocoa Board and overdrafts from banks to finance its business. It has over-relied on Ghanaian commercial banks to fund its operations. Now, in 2022, the company struggled to pay worker salaries due to financial difficulties. In November 2023, PBC's listing on the Ghana Stock Exchange was suspended due to failure to submit its financial results since the end of its financial year in 2022. This was a second suspension in nearly 5 years. The court-ordered freeze on PBC's assets marks a crucial juncture for the company, requiring swift and strategic actions to address the financial challenges and to regain the confidence of creditors and stakeholders alike. The unfolding events will be closely monitored to determine the future of PBC moving forward.
And that was an explainer on some challenges of licensed cocoa buying company PBC Limited prior to the court order to freeze some of the company's assets. Away from that, a partner at auditing firm Deloitte Ghana has identified the lack of access to markets as the main hindrance to small and medium-scaled enterprises accessing finance. Speaking at the media launch of a campaign to provide high-quality and advisory and tax services for SMEs in Ghana, Yaolati said this.
If you go to a bank and you don't get finance, or if you go to an investor and they don't give you the investment you require, then there's probably something wrong with your business that you may not have paid attention to. So there are about 4 or 5 services that we offer to SMEs that help them to be investor ready. So the first one I'll say is what we call market access. So for anybody to invest in your business, the person will need comfort around the fact that you have customers that are reliable, customers that are credit worthy, that will pay you, or you are not concentrated on just one customer. You have diversified customers. So that's what we call market access. So we help SMEs overcome the challenge of concentration in one customer or not able to get the right customers. Then after that, we help them with what we call investor readiness support. Under the investor readiness support, we do something we call governance and regulatory support. We make sure you have the right team, you have a board, you have an internal control department, and you have the right management team. So sometimes where we think that the management is a little bit weak at the SME level, we advise the owners of this business to ensure that they have the right team members on board.
Yaolati is partner at auditing firm Deloitte Ghana, and that brings us to the end of the business segment here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Minuafo. Meanwhile, Emmanuel Andam is on standby with sports news. Good evening, Emmanuel.
Good evening, it's time for Sports on Hot Edition. My name is Emmanuel Andam. Let's start from the 2023 African Cup of Nations, where the knockout phase of the competition will begin on Saturday, as 16 remaining teams will battle it out for a place in the last 8. Ahead of Nigeria's clash against Cameroon on Saturday, Simon Moses, who is a winger for the Super Eagles, was asked about Nigeria outlasting Ghana at the tournament, and this is what he had to say.
Bring the Ghana jollof, baby. Bring the Ghana jollof. No, actually, it doesn't give us any pressure. And me actually here, I want Ghana to stay. I don't want Ghana to go. But this is football. You win or you lose or you draw. And I believe Ghana will bounce back. But we just focus on our team. We just want to achieve something here. I wish Ghana all the best.
That was the voice of Nigeria's Simon Moses. However, the weekend will see Angola take on Namibia on Saturday, and on Sunday, Equatorial Guinea will play Guinea, and Egypt will play host to DR Congo. Crossing over to Europe, Liverpool head coach Jurgen Klopp has announced that he'll be leaving the club at the end of the season, saying that he is running out of energy. Let's take a listen to the German coach.
I will leave the club at the end of the season. I can understand that it's a shock for a lot of people in this moment when you hear it the first time, and but obviously I can explain it, or at least try to explain it, and I love absolutely everything about this club. I love everything about the city. I love everything about our supporters. I love the team, love the staff, love everything. That I still take this decision probably will, or shows you that I'm convinced it's the one I have to take.
That was the voice of Liverpool head coach Jurgen Klopp. Still in England, Spurs head coach Ange Postecoglou believes his team's matchup against Manchester City in the FA Cup later tonight will be a test of his club's progress.
I think at the same time, you also respect the fact that you're playing very, very good opponent, and he, whoever when you've got an opponent of the calibre of Manchester City, whether you want to or not, your game has to adjust. It does. We know we're going to be at times under stress tomorrow. There'll be times when we get outpossessed. I mean, there's, irrespective of your strategy, that's going to happen. But from our perspective, we just continue on trying.
That was the voice of Spurs head coach Ange Postecoglou, and that brings an end to the sports news on Hot Edition. My name is Emmanuel Andam. Up next is entertainment with Akofa.
Thank you for tuning in to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. It's now time for the entertainment news segment powered by 3 Entertainment. My name is Akofa. Afro dancehall musician Article 1 has disclosed that he is ready to be signed onto a record label which will present him with a reasonable offer. He also shared the factors that he believes contributes to an artist's song going viral. Speaking on TV3 New Day, the solo hitmaker admitted that being signed to a record label adds quality to the artist's music and promotions.
It's very difficult now because now the music space has even changed. Gone are those days that music can just go viral like just like this, but now it doesn't really work like that way. You need to push more fans. Even if your song becomes a hit as a viral song, you have a lot of work to do to maintain that space and then take it to the next level. Music has, like, the entertainment scene has changed now that Afrobeat and everything has come together.
Yeah.
Nah, it's a different game altogether.
It's a different ball game
altogether.
Well, here you are doing well. What's the secret?
I just remember the reason why I started the music, and I said to myself, no one chose me to become a musician. I said I want to become a musician.
Do you have a label now?
I don't have I've never had a label. Yeah, it's been me.
Why is that?
It's because I've not had a label.
Do you want to be signed to a label?
I'm open to work with any good business entity. We are very open. When we can merge stuff and make it happen.
So you believe in being like artists being signed to labels and labels taking care of their business?
When you look at how we started and stuff, and you look at the Black Sheriffs, you can see the clear difference.
Okay.
Like, proper teamwork is being done. It doesn't mean we are not working hard, but we are doing what we can. But when we have that chance as well, I'm sure we are going to take things to a different.
Well, finally, before I go, let's take a quick look at showbiz stories around the world. The showbiz world is buzzing with a lot of happenings, but let's start off from the camp of Mr. Ibu. Son of the popular Nollywood actor Daniel Okafor and his lover Jasmine were arrested and charged to court for conspiracy and stealing. According to spokesperson for the FCID, ASP Mayogun Aminat followed a petition received from Diamond Waves Law on behalf of Ibu's wife Stella in September 6, 2023. Mr. Ibu launched a public fundraising initiative and attracted donations from his fans as part of efforts to fund his medical bills, primarily managed by his wife. However, Daniel Okafor and Jasmine manipulated Mrs. Okafor and hacked into the banking details, taking direct and full charge. That will be all the entertainment news here on Hot Edition, powered by 3 Entertainment. My name is Akofa. Thank you for your time. The 3FM Drive continues, and join us at the Gold Coast Restaurant later today for the 3FM Corporate Connect.